All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Saturday, October 10th, 2020. And this morning I have on the show Mr. Sethi De Clercq from
Yes.
Thailand. And I'm so happy to have him on. I know we were trying to coordinate months ago, and I'm so happy to have him on. Sethi comes to the show. He is a Google certified trainer and innovator, as well as an MIE expert. And he has so much knowledge, and he is a leader in technology in his school and in his job and what he does. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
I am so excited to have you here, actually, to speak to you virtually, but meet you through the screen finally. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is at your school?
So nowadays I'm really based in what's called our design lab and our digital design lab. So it's really a combination of tech integration support, as well as leading the two fields of computer science and then also all our STEM activities. So I do get to work with every single student in the school, as well as sort of try to support our teachers to really integrate technology in a meaningful way and not just using a tool.
Isn't that important? You just said it right there, like effectively, right? Meaningful, like not just to throw the technology out at people and just use
Exactly.
it.
The first thing I always say is, look, if pen and paper is going to do a better job at this, please use pen and paper. Leave the
Exactly.
Chromebook where it is, leave the computer where it is.
I agree. I think you don't always have to use the technology. Sometimes no tech is better. But yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is an important piece of any technology integration, and especially now with virtual learning, remote learning, whatever the term is called. We're all using technology in ways that is helping present the information, and hopefully the students are comprehending it. But we still want to make sure that the tech that we're using is effective. And you don't want to just use a tool just because the teacher next door to you is using it. You want to use it in the way that is going to be the most valuable way that the students can learn. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Exactly.
Definitely.
No,
Definitely.
I definitely agree with that. In addition to sort of also using the tool that works for you, I'd say make sure that you check in with the students as well, because not everything works for every class group and not everything works for every school. And if it doesn't work, don't try to push it through. Just make changes. Just change it and use something that does work.
Yeah, I agree. Like I just feel like, I know we're going to talk about Google Sites, but just a sidetrack. I just feel like if, in these times today, you got to keep things very simple and use what you know. You don't have to use a new tool if you don't want to, but if you're using something you feel comfortable with, continue to use that tool. And then when you feel comfortable, then you can venture out and, broaden your tech tool belt. But, right now, everybody's so, overwhelmed, and it's just a lot to take in, and to learn something new could just kind of push people over the edge. So keep things simple and use what you know right now is
Exactly.
what I would suggest.
Just add 1% every day. Just that 1% of try something different, maybe something very small, but sort of build upon what you already use and what you know. And hopefully, once we start talking about Google Sites, I'll be able to just show a couple of things that maybe you're already aware of it, but it'll help you to maybe just try something, see if it works for you, see if it works with your students, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, then just scrap it and don't listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, really, like you said, I love that 1%. Try that one tiny little percent, something new. But when you're ready, do it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Google Sites. So I know, you have a lot of great knowledge about, G Suite and other tech tools, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say on how to use Google Sites as a tool to engage student learning during virtual learning. So why don't you share what you're going to show us?
Okay, let me just quickly open up my screen here. Let me share that. Now, I'm just going to open up a quick little website that I just threw together literally in 2 minutes. But I think the main reason why I wanted to have a quick chat about Google Sites is because it is so easy and so fast to create something. I'm sure that everyone listening to this and everyone watching this will immediately notice just how easy this layout is of Google Sites. You have your insert menu and you have everything you need right there on that first page. And because it is so easy to use, you can really focus on the learning. You can focus on your students, you can focus on the lesson rather than spend, say, half your lesson trying to upload a picture or trying to get a screenshot into your overview. And so that's why I still, to this day, Google Sites is still my go-to tool in terms of quickly creating portfolios, or maybe it's a journal of their learning in class, or maybe even at home during the online learning. And so what you see here is sort of a page with just a simple little title. But one of the things that I like to use is images. And for example, I've got some bebop mats here that I made. And again, this is not really relevant to any specific lesson, but it's just to give you an example of just how quick and easy Google Sites is. So here we have that image, and then that image has just that text down there, and it links out to the actual file. So when people click on that, they go straight to that file that is then in Google Drawings. And so in order for us to quickly upload something like that, what we can do is we can just open up the Google Drawings application. So let me just stop the main screen share. Let me just share my entire screen so you can actually see the different applications rather than just the one. So you should see the Google Drawings now.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, so here we have another one. So this one is not yet on my website. So you can see here I have the sports fields, but I don't have this one of the park. And these are little things that I use in my lessons to work with very young students and talk about directions and sort of very basic coding activities. Now, say that you wanted to put that neatly onto your Google Sites. It's very easy. You can just go to File, download that little image there as a JPEG or a PNG. It downloads it for you. And then as you go here, it's literally just drag and drop. And I think once you show that to teachers and students, they just instantly fall in love with it, because that drag and drop, that's what they like. I mean, it saves them so much time. They don't have to worry about clicking on the correct menus. They don't have to worry about anything. You just drag and drop. So nowadays, many classes, they'll have mobile devices, and we use them a lot in our STEM lessons. So all our students are working on their projects, and we even did it during online learning where they were working on projects at home. They'll take a picture of their blueprint, or they take a picture of their design, and then they start working on it. They take another picture. All these pictures are automatically synced to Google Drive. They download them, click, drag and drop, and boom, that picture is in there. They can do that literally in less than 10 seconds. So here we're going to do it again. I've just got that little image there, download the image. It shows up in my Chrome. I can just drag and drop it in, and it automatically formats it for me. And so this
I'm
way
glad
they
that
can
you
really
showed that little, that's a great little trick, because it's right, it's direct. Like I always double click and then I upload, or so like that's actually a really great drag and drop trick there, because it just puts it right in there. That's awesome.
Exactly. And it's just, I mean, I'm always looking for time savers. I think this year I've sort of set myself the goal, especially with online learning, to reduce the clicks. And that's sort of been my motto. And I've been saying it over and over and over. I'm all about reducing the clicks. I want to reduce clicks for teachers this year. I want to reduce the clicks for our students. And if I can find anything that will reduce the clicks, then I'll show them that, because they have been spending a lot more time online. They have been spending a lot more time, on their devices, virtual lessons, hybrid lessons, even in the classroom, there's a lot of devices. So if we can reduce those clicks, they can get straight back to the learning. And so that's why I really always look for sort of those shortcuts. And then the same goes for linking out that file. If you just quickly get that link from up here in the URL bar, you can simply click on it, and you can link to that file right there. Again, two
Yeah,
clicks,
and you're
and the
done.
file is now linked. So their portfolio is being built up, and it doesn't take them, say that you have a 50-minute lesson and they've been, working on a project for 40 minutes. Those last 10 minutes, they can use those for their portfolio rather than needing 30 minutes for the portfolio and 30 minutes for the project, and then being 10 minutes late for the next lesson. So
Yeah, that's true. So let me just let me back you up for the
mhm,
people that aren't sure. So when you clicked on that Google Drive,
yeah,
Google Drawing file,
right here.
and you got the link, you went back into the drawing file and you
So
took
I can,
the URL address of the drawing
correct.
file. You have to make that, obviously you have to change the sharing permissions of that first before you
Absolutely.
do it.
This is
Okay.
literally just an overview for myself. So those permissions don't really matter. But if I wanted to share this, say with my students or with my colleagues, I would first have to change the permissions of this file. So in my sharing menu, I would first have to change this to set it to public, and then I can do that link copy.
Just
Otherwise,
wanted
I
to
am
make
the only,
sure. Yeah, I just wanted
definitely.
to
Yeah, yeah.
clarify that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
so
Okay,
this
that's
one here
awesome.
is a private file. This one
Okay.
is definitely a private file. And again, this is also something that we've seen with students, that they've sometimes submitted a portfolio and some of the links were not accessible, but that then turned into a great little 10-minute lesson
Teachable
on,
moment, right?
yeah, exactly. Did you change your sharing permissions? Some had, some hadn't, some set the permissions to the wrong one. So yeah, definitely check those permissions. But if it's just for yourself to have everything in one place, then you don't really have to worry about that, because once you're logged in, you have access to your files.
All right. So that's those are two great tips there that I love that definitely reduce the clicks. I love them.
And then another thing that I've been using an awful lot during our online learning, in particular, is when I set up websites or portfolio templates for the students. I was using those placeholders. So Google Sites has something called a placeholder that you can put there, and then it makes it super easy for your students to simply click on that and then replace the placeholder with whichever media you have chosen for them. So for example, here, say that I want to add another placeholder there in this section. I would go to my insert menu, and then as you scroll down, you'll see that we here have that plus and then a placeholder. Now again, this will reduce their clicks, because once you put your placeholders there, they know exactly where the things have to go. So say that I want them to add a logo here. I can put that placeholder there. You can see it now has a plus. That means that they can add whatever they want. So they can upload a file, an image from their drive, a video. But if I want to, as here, specify what they need to upload, then I can always change those settings. And then here in my settings, I can select the actual content type I'm
Oh,
expecting there. And that is
okay.
what I find so useful. So basically, instead of having your students do 5 clicks, the teacher is doing 4, and then your student is left with just the 1. So
That's
you're taking,
awesome.
again, you
Yeah.
are taking over some of that work so they can focus on the learning. So here, say I need a sheets. It has to be a sheets. Update that, and it immediately shows them that icon. They click on it, and they can only upload that sheets then.
That's interesting. I never used the placeholder. Never. I've used Google Sites more for like website, for our school
Mm-hmm.
website, even for different, no, I never use it for portfolio. So this is a great feature because you can set up a template basically, and then you can
Absolutely.
put the placeholders in there and headers or whatnot, and then send that out to the students, and they have everything done for them. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I
And
didn't know that,
once,
Sethi.
oh, that's brilliant. Once you've got it set up, I mean, it's really so easy, because then you can just even duplicate these sections. So say that I
Yeah.
now have this all set up with, say, 3 different images. I can just duplicate that. Now I have 6. And so it can save so much time setting everything up, maybe spending a little bit more time as the teacher is setting it up on day one, and then sending it to your students, rather than just giving them the complete freedom, which I know we always want to give them full freedom and sort of, let them get very creative, but you can tell them, you can change everything. But
Right.
you do give them some sort of scaffolding. So you send them that portfolio with the scaffolding, with the placeholders in place, maybe some titles, maybe a little bit of information about, what a portfolio entry may look like. And then they can always tweak it, change it, decide to use it. Most students do use it, and then they get very creative afterwards.
So how does the teacher send that template out to the students then? Is it through Google Classroom as making
Again, it would be
copies?
whatever works for you, whatever works best for you. So we have had sites that have been sent using Google Classroom, which I personally prefer. I really like that one. Another option is obviously to give them the site and just add them as a collaborator. And so you can hear at the top, you can see that we can add people and we can share this website and then collaborate. That way you are still the owner of the website. They can add their own content and then they become an editor. So that's another way, but I really like Google Classroom for that. But again, not everyone is using Google Classroom. So.
Right. So if they share it through the collaborator icon, then basically they can add like maybe their own page to this website.
Yes. So for
Right.
example, here, this website now, say that I want to make you an editor. I could add you here, simply type in your name and then make you an editor.
Now, I know like with the old sites, there used to be like page permissions. There's not that through the new sites, right?
No, there are page permissions for viewing, so for your published websites, but not for editors.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for that. I really hope that
That
will
comes
eventually
around.
arrive. But what you can do is you can publish your website and say, for example, my homepage is public to anyone in our domain. However, the class page is only viewable to this person.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
So
that's
that
a
is
little
possible.
workaround then. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would have to add them first. When you go to your publish button here, for example, you can see that there's like an option here that says who can view my site. So you can manage that. And then this gives you the option here to change them to either an editor, an owner, or a published viewer. In other words, everything that's published, they can view it.
Okay. Though just the specific people that have access to it.
Just the specific people. So in this case, this demo account has access to
Okay.
view it.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Is there I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna put you on the spot here, so I apologize. Is there version history in Google Sites? So if there's a student, like say you have like students who are collaborators in the site and they have their own page, but then you have one student that deletes another student's page. Is there
Here,
analytics on that?
yeah, so here at the top, you have a version history. So here, as you can see, there is a version history here.
Okay.
And then you can also, as with the other applications, you can name those versions. So you can see all the changes that were made here. And then you can just name them.
And then you can restore it back to that version if you need to.
Okay,
well, that's good.
Restore this version. So the version history, it hasn't been there for a long time. We used to have to use a little workaround to get to it. And then that workaround broke. And I think about 2 weeks later, we suddenly saw that there was now version history here at the top. So we were all very excited about that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is great information because I think in Google Sites, like I said, I use it more for a website. I don't use it for, class or even like a class, like even like a classroom resource or or a digital portfolio for the students or having the students turn in their work or portray their work through a site. I use it more traditionally for that website.
Yeah, I like that a site can be submitted once via, say, Google Classroom to you as a teacher. You can give feedback on that, and you can mark that, you can grade that. However, because it's a site, it's something I tend to use a lot for sort of project-based learning and different longer projects that really require them to go in every week and add to that learning journal and really document their learning. And that's what I love about it.
So do you use it for like, so you're telling me you use it more for like assignments, like you
I use it
showcase
for
your assignment maybe.
long-term assignments.
Okay.
So for example, you'll set an assignment in Google Classroom and you'll say, please submit to me your website, your Google Sites, your portfolio. But that is then submitted to you via Google Classroom. However, that portfolio will constantly evolve. And so they just simply use the same file over and over again,
That's
and they can add
interesting.
to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of other teachers using it for like posting their assignments to a site. So
Mm.
they kind of forget about Google Classroom for a second. So they kind of like post their information to a site and create the pages for like maybe their subjects and then post
Yeah.
their assignments and things like that. So they're using it more for like I don't know what the right word is, but they're using it more for like a classroom hub to
Yeah, well,
showcase
it's
all of
almost
their assignments.
like a class intranet, so to say, where
Yeah,
you sort of have everything in one place, and I think it's great for that because it's fully integrated with Drive. If
right.
you're not using Google Classroom, then sites may be just
The
what you can
answer.
use. It may be the answer to sharing your resources with your students instead of sharing the
Yeah.
material in classwork. Well, just pop it onto your website and make sure the permissions are set. So the
Yeah.
only thing there is you're going to have to be aware of permissions because Google Classroom gives you reminders whenever you set assignments or whenever you set something. It reminds you, oh, have you shared this with the right people? Have you shared this? How do you want to give access to your students? Whereas Google Sites will not remind you. So
Right.
that's
So
the
there's a
only
little
thing.
bit more, you have to be a little bit more mindful. But you can
Yeah,
always like you can incorporate forms in the site to have students fill out and then you can get a notification through the form.
absolutely. And if you have shared something, say that you've forgotten to give permission to a file, the student will see a request access button. So they
Yeah,
will
and then
see
that's
that
going to
button.
be, yeah, that'll be your red flag to say, oh, I
Yeah.
forgot. Let me change the sharing permissions. And they're going to tell you right away because that's just what they do.
Oh yeah, they will. They will. Definitely. They will definitely
Wow.
tell you.
I'm glad that you're showcasing it in this way because I think it's very valuable at this point in time. Like you said, people aren't using Google Classroom and they're
Mm.
using different applications. I know like at my school, we have some teachers using Google Classroom and then some are using on-course classroom. So it's just, it's just another way of presenting
Mm.
and, distributing materials. This is great. I'm glad
The
that you
other thing I
portrayed it.
also the other thing I also like about Google Sites is that you have a bit more control over how the information is presented. Whereas Google Classroom, the stream, okay, you can tweak it a little bit, but it's a stream of information. Assignments, it's very organized, very structured, very useful. However, it's not necessarily relevant for every student or it doesn't work for every class. Whereas Google Sites, okay, say that you have much younger students, you can make it look really, you can make it look pretty or really cool, or
Yeah.
you can add your graphics and make it really appealing to your students. Whereas Google Classroom, you're limited to a header and colors, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't even, I mean, you can customize it to a certain point as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I love Google Classroom, don't get me wrong, but I think you have to tell the people to click on the classwork page to be able to see some type of organization within
Yeah.
your class. So sometimes I think that should be the landing page instead of the stream, but that's a whole nother conversation. But
Exactly.
I think definitely you hit it right here. Like a lot of teachers, they do want to customize their classroom, their virtual classroom, and Google Classroom. A lot of people are complaining about that because they can't change the header because it's dark, that has that black tint on their header.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of teachers are, they don't like that. So because like you
Mm.
said, the elementary teachers, they like to go in and they like to customize everything and make it look
Yeah.
more age appropriate. So I get that. And this, at least like you said, it's nice to be able to add images into the different headers and customize the colors and things like that. to make it more appealing as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same here. You have your headers that you can add. As you
yeah,
can see here, there's a header, and it's also a bit darker, but you always have the option to remove that. So here you can see there's remove readability adjustments. This was all done by AI. But if you click on that, it just goes back to the original image. So you don't even have to have this title here. You could just remove that and have your image be the title of your page. So that is something I really like using as well, is that you can switch this on or off.
yeah. And that's not new either. I mean,
That's
that
been there for,
readability, it's been
yeah.
a while there. Yeah, exactly. That's great. Now, what other extension activities were you planning on showcasing? Because so far, I mean, a lot of the information that you're talking about has been really great.
Thank you. Well, there's two things that I really love using. The first is sort of a three-layered approach to using extensions to create extension activities, as in, say that your students have finished or completed all the work. Then there are some things you can use to really give them additional resources away off this platform that then enable them to take their learning a bit, farther and really go for deepening of that understanding. So here you can see we're in a slides and there's a little video in there. Now, an extension I like to use a lot, you can see it up here, is called Record to Slides. Now, this is a Chrome extension, and once you install that, it is going to allow you to extend your activities by adding functionality to your Chrome browser. So we're using the extension twice there, the word, but it's two completely separate things. So once you have the extension Record to Slides installed, this will enable you to now create a slideshow and just record from inside that slideshow. And that means that your students, again, there's less clicks. They don't have to find a recorder. They don't have to upload a file. They don't have to put that file onto either YouTube or Google Drive. They don't have to pull it into a slideshow. Push the extension out to your students or tell them about it, and then they have a single click. So I'm just going to quickly show you what that will look like, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Let me
that's
just
awesome.
quickly open up a new slides here. So here I'm in a brand new slideshow. So say that this is a presentation that they're giving about, any lesson really. And they want to put some video in there. They want to record themselves explaining, what this project is all about. So you can see now that the extension here in the top right corner, can you see that it suddenly has sort of more color to it?
Yeah.
And that means that it's now activated. So it has access to the site. And because it has access to Google Slides, it has now opened up this additional icon here, which is this blue icon, which I can click. And it pulls in my camera feed. So it's a single click, pulls in my camera feed, and I can just record. So I'm now going to set the permission so anyone in my domain can see this video. I'm going to click on record. I'm now recording a quick little video. Click it again. I get a preview of that video that was recorded. I click on OK. It gets automatically uploaded into my Google Drive. It gets automatically pulled into my slideshow, and now I have this video right here. I don't have to find a recorder. I don't have to find a program to record my video, edit my video, upload it to my Google Drive, pull it into my slides. It's here. It's all, there you go, ready to go. The video is on my slideshow. And now you just jump back into your Google Sites, pop that slideshow in there. So here we are on Google Sites. Down below, one of the options you see is Slides. You click on it, find it because it's a recent file because it's just been edited. Insert the file. And there we have that slideshow with the video in Google Sites. So it's sort of three layers, but it's so much faster than manually recording the video, uploading the video, and doing all those steps.
Yeah, I totally agree. Record to Slides is awesome. I just showed staff at my school about that Chrome extension, and I did get a lot of positive feedback about it because it's super easy.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't make it any easier than that. You just click on the blue little camera icon, you start recording, and then your video is there. It pops into Slides. It's awesome. But I love that now that you can take your slideshow, put it into your Google site, and now you're actually presenting. The students are engaged in the video, which is great. So it's just another layer of presenting the information out there.
Exactly. So that is one thing
That's
I like
great.
to do.
I'm glad that you brought that up today. That's awesome. Do you have any other tips up your sleeve?
Yeah, and then the final one I wanted to show is insert learning, which is again a Chrome extension, but the way I like to use it is linking out. So you can see here's for example, this is an example of how most teachers have been doing it. So here's a link to an extension activity. Go to this website, find out the information about African elephants. So this is how it was before. And I like to use the extension that you see up here, insert learning, to now tweak that page. And instead of sharing this standard link, I tend to share an insert learning link. And the biggest difference is that I can fully customize the website I'm sending them to, and I can add information to that website. So I'm going to just show you here. This is the original website. It's from National Geographic. It's a beautiful looking website, but I want to customize it. So now that I'm on this website, I'm going to click on the extension here, Instant Learning. It's going to activate this. It loads all the information into their program. Now I can highlight different sections of this and add my own content. So here you can see I can
Wow,
highlight
really?
test. I can highlight, for example, this part, say that I want to highlight that. There we go. This is now being highlighted. Say that they've read this paragraph here. African elephants are sometimes categorized into, okay, so say that I want to ask a question about this paragraph. I'm going to highlight that paragraph. And then here, one of the options is to either insert a sticky note, a question, or a discussion. Now I'm going to insert a question. There we go. We're going to insert a question for this paragraph, and we can now insert our own question. So I can say, please reflect on and carry on. And then you can just ask your question there. Create that question. That question is now part of the website. So this will not go anywhere. As they scroll through the website, your students will see that you've highlighted this. They see that you've added a question and they can answer that question. You as a teacher can view their responses. I can keep adding more information here. Say I want to add a sticky note. I click on sticky notes. I want to add a sticky note to this because maybe I want to give a little bit of context for my students. Okay, I can click on this and now I can add a sticky note. Now the great thing is that sticky note can have text, but also you can see this button here. Again, it can have video as well. So I can now record a video, record myself. I'm going to change the camera here. So I can change the camera to the one I actually want to use. So I'm going to continue. Actually, let me just leave that as it is for now because it's going to take a bit of time. But I can click on the camera, record my video, again, using my webcam, and say whatever I want to say or share with my students. For example, if it talks about African elephants, I can talk about, remember that time that we went on that residential there and we met these elephants. Do you think that these were African elephants or Asian elephants? Ask a question. They will then see that video as they scroll through this website. And so I can do all that, prepare all my links here. And then you'll see that I have the option here under more to share this with other teachers to also add their content. Or I can view it as a student, which will then also give me that link. Now I'm going to assign it. There we go. And instead of assigning it in Google Classroom, which would be great, but if you're not using that, you just want the link, you're going to ask for a link. So here you can get that link. Link has been copied. And instead of using this link, I tend to use that link. And that is now a link to that lesson with all the added content that I've added to another external website. And so you can turn any website into a lesson.
Mind blown. That's awesome. I never heard of that extension before. So when the students go to that website and they answer the question, how does
I'll show
it get
you.
recorded?
Yeah, so here, for example, this is now, I have the option to view this as a student. So this is what the website will look like to the students. So you see it's highlighted, and then here they can record their answers. Those answers are then all kept securely and shared with you as a teacher. So you do have to sign up the first time you install the extension with a teacher account. Okay. So once you have that teacher account, that's where you receive your answers or your answers to multiple choice questions or the reflections of your students.
So the students, how does it keep track of what student responded to what? Do the students have to sign into the Chrome extension too? Okay.
So there you have two options. You can either have as public, where you just add memos and information and things like that, or you add them to a classroom. So
Okay.
you can pull those in from Google Classroom. So you can see I can easily assign it to Google Classroom because I can enroll them into an insert learning class, and it just pulls the data from Google Classroom. So it has that integration there.
Wow. I'm totally blown away. I just wrote it down. Insert learning. I'll
I
make
loved
mention.
it.
I can't.
I love the fact that you can take any website and turn it into a lesson.
That's awesome. I mean, how valuable is that right now during virtual learning? Like that's, and then you can get the link and put it into your Google site, like, or Google
Exactly.
Classroom. That's so direct. Like there's no distractions there. Like it's a direct link. Here's, you got
Yeah.
to read, you got to answer the questions in here. Boom, you're done. I
And
am
you're
definitely
already
going to
sharing links.
check
I
that
mean, the
out.
amount of links that we're sharing as teachers of, go and read this, go and read that. The only difference is that now maybe you're adding some of your own notes or you're making it more relevant to them. You say, okay, where does this apply in the classroom? Where does this apply in our in our bubble that we live in?
Yeah. Now, can you remove content from that article or no?
I have not, I don't think that is possible.
Okay.
That's one thing I don't think is possible. But yeah, maybe that's part of a premium program. Because I've only ever used the free, and I've been perfectly happy with it. But I don't think you can remove any content.
Now, what's the limitations with the free version? Is it, you do have to have a
You're
certain amount
limited.
of,
Yeah, you're limited to these. So you can highlight, you can add a sticky note, insert a question, and insert a discussion. The premium has a lot more available.
okay.
So you can also add multiple choice questions, you can add tests, you can add your own images, you can add all sorts of different content to it.
Wow, I can't wait to check this out. This to me was so valuable that I'm very thankful that you shared it, because I know, like, you were contemplating on what to share, and I'm glad that you shared this, because I never heard of it before. So I am definitely going to pay it forward to people at my school district in my building and share it with them. And I hope that the audience found it helpful as well, because I really think the two extensions that you showcased were really, really helpful. We want to
Thank
make
you.
things easier during this time. And I love that you said reduce the clicks, like, quote,
Yeah,
Sethi De Clercq said, reducing the clicks, like, to me, it's all about, we don't want to make extra steps. We want to do, we
yeah.
want to work smarter, not harder.
I
So
think
this,
that's one of
this
the
was
things that led
awesome.
me to instant learning as well, is because previously I was sharing a website and then they had to open up a form in another tab or a Google document in another tab to write down their reflections and then another tab for something else. Whereas now it's all in one place and it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, and I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because you know we're not in front of our kids, right? So we're teaching, but now we have to try to help them maneuver through tech. And the more tabs that the students have open, it could be confusing for them, especially if they're elementary students as well. So the less is better, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
less is much more simplified than having more. So that's a great point too, to have everything all on one tab and have it accessible right there for the kids. I think that's makes it even more easier and better. So thanks for sharing that, Sethi. I really appreciate that. Boy,
Thank
oh
you.
boy, you had a lot of tricks up your sleeve there, my friend. I'm so thankful that you had the time to share. I really appreciate it. I know, the time difference and everything, and I appreciate you taking the time at the end of your day or evening to be on my show. So
No,
I know you
it's
said it's about 9 o'clock at night there. Well, it's
yeah,
actually
so
probably quarter
it's
to 10,
9:40 here now, but I'm really,
9:40.
really happy to come on. I feel honored that you've invited me on. So
Oh, no, I've been following you for a while as well. And you have a lot of great videos on your YouTube channel too that I refer to. And I ask you a lot of things as well. So, it's all about helping each other pay it forward. And I'm just thankful that you took the time to share, because I think a lot of the information that you showcased today will help teachers around the world. So thank you very
thank
much
you.
for that. Well,
Thank you so much.
that concludes our show for today or tonight, whatever you want to call it. When I'm on Saturday, usually it's an international guest. So I'm in Saturday morning, and then usually it's in the evening or night for you. So,
Yeah.
I'm flexible, and I do appreciate you being on. So,
Thank
so
you.
with
Thank you for having me.
so with that said, let's wrap up the show so Sethi can go to sleep. So what I'm going to do really quick is share my screen. And you can visit the Sweet Talk at thesweettalk.com. That's the SUITE talk.com. And you can always find the latest episode here on the homepage. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. The Sweet Talk is on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast as well. I do have a Facebook community that you can join. I also have a Stepping Up to Google Classroom book that I wrote with Alice Keeler that's available for sale on Amazon. If you'd like to support my mission and help me pay it forward, you can become a sponsor, and you can learn more about that there. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, which I would love it if you can be, you can fill out this guest inquiry form right now. I'm scheduling for January 2021. So I really appreciate everybody who wants to be on the show. So please fill out that form. My Jamboard page is getting a lot of activity. So if you need some Jamboard inspiration or you don't know what it is, come visit my Jamboard page. You can read about what Jamboard is. I have a resource called Idea Board for Jamboard, which gives a lot of information about what Jamboard really is and gives ideas on how you can use it. And I am going to stop sharing my screen because every time I'm gone, right? Hold on. What happened to my video?
The video's frozen, but yeah, the
Yeah.
audio's fine.
Okay. So every time I go and open up a Drive file, it opens up the app and it never stays in my Chrome browser. So I don't know what happened there. So what I'm going to do is conclude the show, and I want to thank you again for being on, and I'll be in touch on Twitter.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night.